Welcome to another episode of Eat, Chit, and Dice, a fortnightly podcast about board games, and we're actually going to talk about food this week. I'm John D, and with me, as always, is...
It's me, Jared.
What are we talking about this week, Jared?
We are talking about the best little convention in the Midwest, IMO, Geekway to the West.
Right.
If you've never listened to this podcast before, here's everything you need to know. I'm Jared. That's John D. And that's it. That's all you need to know.
Geekway is a...
Yeah, I was going to go into talking about Geekway, but instead I started saying a different thing and just kept going, just barreled right through it.
We do that.
Yep.
So, yeah, Geekway is I would say, small to mid-size convention.
Yeah.
Takes place in a suburb of St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes.
And it's an open format convention. There's not a lot of scheduled events. There's a few scheduled events, but it's mostly just an open gaming format where people do play to wins and check out games from the library, and there's just like an entire convention center of tables where people sit and play games.
Yeah, so what I meant to say is if you've never been to Geekway before, but oops, didn't say that, did I? But yeah, Geekway it's super chill. You know, I feel like some of the bigger conventions, it's just a lot of running around, trying to get to events, or standing in lines to hopefully maybe get a chance to buy the game that everybody else is trying to buy.
Right.
Geekway doesn't have that.
Well, a lot of the conventions I've attended for work are not like that, but, you know, like Origins and Gen Con definitely suffer from that a little bit.
Yes.
Origins less so than Gen Con, but yeah. The smaller to medium-sized conventions are the ones that seem to be, you know, more intimate. And Geekway, being an open format, really gives people the opportunity to just play games, maybe meet new people to play games with, and discover new games that they might not have discovered before because of the play to win.
Right.
Play to win.
And Geekway has like, what, 20 vendors?
No, there's probably about 40 in there.
40? Okay. So, I mean, a lot less than a lot of the larger conventions.
Yeah, and you see most of the smaller publishers there. Mm-hmm. You don't see the big guys.
Yeah, Indie Boards and Cards / Stronghold.
It's probably the biggest name.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest name that
What's their new company, the merged company called?
Indie Game Studios.
Indie Game Studios, okay. Yeah, and then Miniature Market, which is one of the larger online retailers, has a presence there.
Right, and their new retail store is about 20 minutes from there. Mm-hmm. Apparently a lot of people were heading over to check that out during Geekway.
Yep, and we did not go there. I mean, I've been there.
To the new one?
Yeah, I've been to the new one, yeah.
I have not, but I've heard it's really nice.
It's nicer than their previous store, which was just a warehouse.
The previous one was just like the front of the warehouse where they were selling Ding and Dents.
Yeah. The one before that was definitely just the front of the warehouse.
Right.
And they used to do warehouse tours, and they used to be like, okay, you want this game, you can go back into the warehouse and get it yourself, which it is pretty cool, but at the same time, probably not safe.
Right. I'm told they house the Geekway library when Geekway's not going on.
They do. They have a room where they just have just a room full of totes, which is what the library is stored in.
Right.
And,
and the library is open to people to play year round. So
yeah, and they have
a library,
events.
and they also have their own small library.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So, and they do a lot of events, which is really cool.
And you know, if you're ever in the St. Louis area, go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, the St. Louis area really has a lot to offer in the board game community. There's a really cool board game cafe there.
Yeah, Pieces.
There is.
Have you been there?
Miniature Market.
Yeah,
I have not.
No?
I have not
Okay.
been there.
Okay.
I've seen pictures of it. I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
And so there's that. A lot of the people that work in the industry, there's quite a few like small companies based out of St. Louis. So there's a really good community of gamers there.
It's like St. Louis is a huge city or something.
I know, right?
Well, okay, so that's enough. People know what St. Louis is. If they've never heard of St. Louis...
It's the gateway to fun.
Sure. Okay, well...
I totally threw you off.
You really did. You really, really did. Wow. Okay, John D. I'm just gonna move to the next part of this.
Yeah, go for it.
Outline. So, the big thing at Geekway and some of the smaller conventions is the library or the play to win games. And this year, I'm not going to go through everything that Geekway had for the play to win games. I'm just going to talk about some of the games that I played. Johnny's going to talk about some of the games that she played.
I didn't have nearly as many opportunities as Jared did.
Yeah, you were doing other stuff.
I was doing other stuff, and I had a booth to run during the day. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I played Tiny Towns, one of the newer games from AEG.
I saw a lot of pictures popping up on Instagram of people playing that at Geekway.
Yeah, it's not a terrible game. It has some variable setup because you don't use all the cards that are in there. So it's a pattern building game, which seems to be the new thing. So your town is represented by a grid. You've got a 4x4 grid, and you put resource cubes on them in specific layouts to build specific buildings. So the ones that we had, I've been led to believe are going to be different if you play it, because you'll shuffle them. You use only one card per type. So we had a shed was one of the small buildings that you could build, but you also could have built a well if you'd use different cards. So stuff like that. The big problem with this game is if you look at the front of the box, it looks like it's super cute. It's billed as this tiny town that's set in the forest with small creatures of the woods that live there. The game has nothing. It's nothing. Like, it's a real missed opportunity. Like, instead of a fountain, say you're building a bird bath. Or instead of like, oh, it's a silo, a grain silo. No, acorn storage. Like, come on, AEG. You took, honestly, what is a really bland abstract game and slapped a theme on it haphazardly and said, you're forest animals building a house. But that theme doesn't come across in the game at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of games out there that are somewhat solid games, but then they throw like crappy themes on or not well thought out themes on them that don't work with the game, and then you're just like, well. Okay.
Now, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was fun, but the theme does not come across at all.
So it's really just an abstract with a very light implied theme.
Yeah, because, okay, so let me pull up one of these cards here. So if let's say you're trying to build, and I didn't have this one, you're trying to build a shed. So you have one brown cube, which is wood, and one gray cube, which is stone. What does that have to do with animals? Or the exact same pattern, maybe you've shuffled the cards differently and you have the well. Okay. Or a millstone, or a fountain. I mean,
well, so then
they don't have anything to do with animals.
You're not necessarily animals building your house. Like, I get that they're personified animals, but it really could be
a factory, Johnny. One of the cards that you can build is a factory.
Well, so I can kind of see personified animals. Like, think about what's the movie with all the animals? The one that everybody had.
Secret Life of Pets.
No,
I have no idea.
It's the one that had the sloths in it, and I cannot. Yeah, you're good. It's a cartoon.
Are you talking about Zootopia?
Yes.
Okay.
They have a big city, so animals like that would be building a factory and stuff.
I mean, I guess so, but at the same time, this could have been.
Yeah, it could have been
1900s farmers.
Yeah, I mean, they could have really gone all in with. I get what you're saying. Like, they could have gone all in with like this tiny little animal kingdom ish thing. So yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just for playing devil's advocate and pointing out that they could be personified animals that are building a tiny version of a human town.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what it is. So the game's not bad. It's definitely great and a lot of fun, but I don't know, the theme's really nothing.
Leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Having said that, I will probably pick this game up because I did enjoy it. I had fun. It's nothing. I mean, it's a pattern building game. You're just building the patterns and that's it. So I don't know. It was very a dry theme, as people say.
Right.
Okay, John D, would you like to pick one of your games?
Why, sure. We both played Bamboleo,
Yes.
which I think this is the second year you've played it at Geekway.
Mm-hmm.
And
During Fancy Gaming.
yes, and you acquired a copy as well. And this year
Yes, at Gen Con last year in the auction.
yeah,
The auction room.
This year I ended up with the people that were playing Bamboleo, so I gave it a shot. So it's basically this plate that's balancing on top of a little tiny column with a ball on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the plate, they look like building blocks, basically. Like kids' building blocks are scattered around the top of the plate. There are two colors. There's black ones and red ones. The black ones are more dense than the red ones, so they're heavier. And in theory, harder to pick up because they're balancing the plate more so than the red ones might be.
Yeah.
And on your turn, all you do is take a block off and hope that you don't knock the whole thing down.
Yep.
And that's it. It's fun. It's a dexterity game, and it takes like 5 minutes to play one game because it doesn't take very long before somebody like John D takes a block off that was totally the wrong choice.
Yes, John D. Now, for people that have never seen a scale before, which side is usually heavier? The one that's on the bottom or the one that's on the top?
The one on the bottom.
Right.
Right.
There were a few turns where John D was going for a piece that was on the lighter end that would have made the situation worse. And we were like, John D, remember how physics works?
Yeah, but the ones on the bottom were all like really heavy blocks that you
Yeah.
can't grab a hold of. The triangles are like impossible to pick up.
Yes, they are.
And
That's the difficulty.
it was always all those on the bottom. And I knew if I tried to pick up one of those, I was definitely knocking the thing down because
Yeah.
I'd end up picking it up slightly and then I'd end up dropping it.
Well, I mean, that's the fun, right? That's the fun in these kind of games.
Right,
Is that
right.
You have to...
I will post a video,
Balance.
a very short video on our Instagram of some playthrough. I don't think I have any of Jared playing, but I do have one of me on one of the few times I didn't knock it down.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know that Bamboleo is even available anymore.
You have to find used copies.
Yeah, I
And
feel like you do.
I'm not necessarily sure that I would call it a game so much as an activity, but it's a
Right.
super fun activity. So, and you can play it basically with a large group, like at a party or something, because there's really no limit on the number of people that you play it with.
Yeah, that's true. It's not... You're right. It's not really a game, but it is a lot of fun. I mean, you could make your own. You would just need some wood.
Right.
And if you go to Board Game Geek and you type in Bamboleo, someone has uploaded like a picture of all the shapes with the like the weights in grams. So you could even bootleg it pretty easily if you really, really wanted to.
But by the time you do all that, you can just go to Amazon and get it for $70.
You could do that, I guess, if you want to support, board game manufacturers.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Bamboleo is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
For what it is. It's not got a lot of gameplay. You pick up a piece and maybe immediately lose and
Yeah.
have to put it back together.
Yeah. I think part of the game is trying to get the plate to balance in the first place.
That's true. It does have limited appeal, which is why I will play it at Fancy Gaming for a few rounds and then I'm out.
Right.
I also played Gizmos from Cool Mini or Not. I'm sorry, Simon, as it's not Cool Mini or Not anymore because they do other things.
Right. I watched you play a little bit of it.
I am considering this to be a potion explosion killer.
And I disagree because I think Potion Explosion still has as much of an audience because I think Gizmos looks way too complicated for what it is.
Well, I don't know. So here's how the game works. You've got a marble dispenser as you do in Potion Explosion. And on your turn, you have a few options of what you can actually do. You can take a marble. You can take a blueprint, which you need the marbles to complete. So whatever the pattern is there that you have to do. And the main gameplay here is that certain things trigger other things. So you may have a tile that you've built that when you take a blue marble, it triggers. So, okay, I take a blue marble. This thing triggers. I take a random marble from the top, or I've built a yellow recipe tile, so that triggers me to be able to draw a marble, and I draw a blue marble, which triggers the thing.
So it's a more complicated version of Potion Explosion.
I guess so.
Because your potions and Potion Explosion can be used to do extra things, like when you take a black marble, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So it's the same thing, but more complicated.
Right, and that's
Which-
what I like.
If I'm going to play that kind of game, like with a theme like that, I don't want complicated.
That's fair, John D, but I do.
So that's why I'm saying it's not a Potion Explosion killer, because I think the people that like Potion Explosion
Are going to love Gizmos and never want to play
I
Potion
disagree.
Explosion ever again. I absolutely agree with what you're saying, John D.
I completely disagree with that.
I don't know. I really liked it. It is very hard to explain it, though.
Yeah, exactly. And even watching you play, took me forever to figure out what you were doing, and I have zero interest in playing it after watching you play.
Really?
Really.
I don't know. I think you would at least enjoy it a little bit.
It's too complicated for what it is.
Well, whenever I get it, because I will be getting this. Whenever I get it, we'll play it. Maybe. And, well, John D, you have to at least try it. Now, this is a totally different level than me trying to get you to play, a 7-hour-long space game.
Right. But there's a lot of games that are unplayed on my shelves. Why would I want to play one that I'm not interested in at all?
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I mean, if we're playing games together and that's your pick for a day, then fine.
Okay.
But for the most part, I have a lot of games on my list that I want to play.
Yeah.
And there's not enough time to even play those. So that one doesn't even make the list for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. There are a lot of games that you like that I'm like, no, I'm never playing that. Like,
right. I mean, there's some things
End
that
of
we
the
just...
line? No, never again.
And that's fine. You don't like Take That games nearly as much as I do.
Yeah. I like games that maybe have Take That as a very minor mechanic.
Right. And I like ones that are flat out mean games.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
That's fair. Well, I guess after Gen Con, you'll give it a shot, maybe?
We'll see.
Twist your arm?
We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll after John D plays it, after I force her to play it, and then we'll talk about it again. Because, me just telling you about the game, there's a lot going on, and I don't feel like it's fair to say, like, okay, well, there's converters. You can convert. You can draw a red marble and turn it into 2 red marbles.
Turns me off, because it's too... The concept of the game and the marble thing and the marble dispenser, that, to me, is not the kind of game that should be complicated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fair. Well, John D, what about this other game that you played that actually is complicated?
Which one?
New Haven.
All right. Well, we both played that one.
Yeah.
So that's actually one that we both played. I think it's the only one we played together, actually.
No, we played a couple other games together, but we're not talking about them.
Did we?
Well, we played that one.
New Haven.
Well, yes, we played New Haven.
And Bamboleo.
We played, right, and we also played that other one that we're not talking about. That
we didn't play that together. We've just both played it.
Well, no. Oh, it's fine. Well, it doesn't matter that you don't know what I'm talking about that I'm thinking of, because you can't read my mind.
Correct. So anyway, we played New Haven. It's from R&R Games, and I don't know what mechanic theme you would put that into.
Tile placement?
Yeah, I guess it's a tile placement.
Yeah.
Basically, you are trying to build buildings into your town, and you do that by collecting specific resources and then placing those buildings onto a grid board that you have in front of you. And things place on that board. If you've ever played Harvest Dice, things place on that board the way that you draw things onto Harvest Dice. That you have to, once you put a certain type of building somewhere, you can only surround it by buildings. Yeah. If you put one that's not like it, the only way you're able to do that is if you don't have the second type of building somewhere else, or if there's nothing it has to be out in the open. It can't be I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well, but things place like they do in Harvest Dice. The way you collect the resources, I think, is really kind of cool. So you will play a tile, and that tile will have 4 resources on it. So say it's got like 2 stone, sheep, and 1 grain.
Mm-hmm.
You will take that tile and match it up to another tile or picture that's already on the board. And then you get, like, say I take the 1 sheep and it's touching a line of like 6 sheep, then I get 6 sheep.
Mm-hmm.
And I will also get whatever else is just on the tile I placed.
It can get very complicated.
It can. You really
I think
have
towards
to.
the end of the game, it was like, all right, I play this here, and that's 18 wood.
Which it's meant to do that.
Yes, because
Yeah. And so.
because towards the end of the game, you need to have those resources.
Yeah. So what I think is really cool about that, there's a track on the board that you move the little cubes up to show how much you have.
Yeah, those resource sharing.
Yes. Yeah, because basically you use what you can, and then you want to deplete the resources, because if you deplete them, that's the only way you can draw more tiles or more resources that you can, or houses. That's what they are. It's the only way you can build more buildings. So I would say I've got like 6 sheep, 1 stone, and 1 grain, and I'm only able to use 2 sheep and none of the rest of it. Then I'm going to go over here and say, Jared, can you use any of these?
Right, and if I use them and we get it down to 0, John D gets a benefit from that.
Right. I get 1 new building, a building tile that I can work on trying to get into my town for each resource that got down to 0.
So if, let's say, I've placed a tile and I've got 6 wood, 3 sheep. Well, I can't use those 3 sheep. John D can't use those 3 sheep. So it stays at 3, and I don't get to draw anything for that sheep. Because you can draw, if all 4 of those resource types are at 0, you get 4 new building tiles, right?
Yes.
But if nobody can use the resource, well,
You only get building tiles for whatever is at 0.
it's entirely possible
To
that on
not
your
get
turn,
anything.
yeah, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, which you try really hard to not do that. There is some potential for analysis paralysis in this game, because you can spend a lot of time like trying to plan out where you're going to put the tile and how many you'll get of stuff,
Yeah.
and is this other tile you have better.
But honestly,
And
there's no reason to do that.
Don't just place some tiles.
There's no
and
reason,
do your
because
best.
you can't control, like, okay, John D places a thing, and okay, well, she took the move that I was going to take, but that's okay because she got the resources that I was going to get anyway, and she can't use them. But the person sitting next to her before me used those resources, so now I can't use them. Well, I'm glad I planned my turn 5 turns in advance, because no, just don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But it's a lot of fun. I actually liked it quite a bit.
I enjoyed it a lot. I brought home a copy, so.
Yeah, cool. It wasn't my favorite game that I played this week.
I enjoyed
But
it, though.
I
I
did
started a
enjoy
second playthrough even. We just didn't have time to finish the second playthrough. But I enjoyed it. I would definitely play it again.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of games these days are tile placement pattern recognition.
It's a popular mechanic.
Yeah, almost
right now.
all the games that I played that were new were that. So, like, okay, I've combined these two because I'm just going to talk about them together. Railroad Inc. There's 2 different versions of that. There's a blue version and a red version, just like Pokemon. It's a dice rolling, roll and write dry erase thing where you roll the dice and they have either railroad tracks or roads or both. And you draw them on your little sheet, and you have to connect the exits, the ins to the outs, which is real hard to do, by the way.
I remember that I was at the next table over when you were playing that one, and you were both talking about how awful your railroad lines were.
Yeah. Have you ever been in the middle of downtown Chicago where the roads don't make sense?
I have not.
All
I've
right.
only ever taken trains in Chicago.
So in the middle of downtown Chicago, because like 50 years ago, I don't know when it was, they jacked up the city.
I wasn't aware of that.
There are parts of Chicago where you can be driving on a road, and there's a road above you and below you.
Huh.
Good luck calling an Uber. Well, anyway, my city was exactly like that. Marissa's city was slightly better. But my city was like, okay,
Shout
so
out to Marissa.
you start at this train station. Okay, take the train here. It turns into a road. It turns into a train. It crosses under itself, turns back into a road.
That's
What?
a mess.
Oh gosh, my city was real bad. Real bad. Having said that, I like this game quite a bit.
I've heard several good things about it.
Yeah.
Roll and rights are pretty popular right now.
They are. This one is a little thinky. It's a little thinky. And the first time that you play it, maybe you should step back and think like, okay, the point of this game is to connect these exits. Don't worry about optimal placement of your roads because it's okay to have blank spaces. It's okay. Not what I did. I also played not the same kind of game, but a very similar game, Overbooked, where you are supposed to be in charge of airline booking and placing passengers. And you have these patterns, and you put the disc in the specific pattern that's there. And oh no, maybe you have to put a disc where there already is a disc. Well, that's okay. That person gets bumped off the flight because the flight's been overbooked, even though there's a bunch of empty spaces around him, so whatever. The problem with this game is the rule book. So you score points if you have couples placed together, if you have children that are completely supervised, completely surrounded. But at no point in the book does it say what a child is.
Huh.
So we had to figure that out based on context from cards. And it's a white disc. So if you have a white disc and it's completely surrounded on all four orthogonally connected adjacent squares, it's considered completely surrounded and like supervised. Couples are the red ones. You have to have two of them next to each other, but you can't have three because we don't live in that kind of society.
Now, who makes these two games?
Railroad Inc. is published here by Simon. And Overbooked, I don't know. According to BGG, Random Skill Games or Jumbo. But I don't specifically remember seeing a publisher on the box.
Alrighty then.
If you're going to play one of those two games, play Railroad Inc. I liked it a lot more than I liked Overbooked. They are very different mechanically, but they have the same kind of feel when you're thinking of how can I fit this here? How can I connect these guys without screwing everything up?
Well, on that same note, thinky games that play kind of like that, I played On Tour.
Yeah.
Which is from
Board Game
Tables, which I didn't even know they made games, and apparently they make 3 games.
Yeah, there's one on Kickstarter right now.
Which is cool. It's a very thinky roll and write. So, and from Jared's description of Railroad Inc., I would definitely say it's in that genre. So the way the game works is each turn or each round, 3 cards will be out on the table, and they will highlight specific areas of the map of the United States. So like you might have one that's the north, and you might have one that's the south, and you might have one that's the northeast. So some of them might overlap. And on each of those cards, there's also a specific state in that region that's circled. And then what you do, you have 2 pretty big sizable D10s. You roll those, and so say you have a 9 and a 6. Somewhere on my map of the United States, I have to place a 96, and somewhere on my map, I have to place a 69.
Yeah.
And if I'm able to place it in one of the states that are specifically pinpointed on one of the cards, I get to circle that number on my map, and that gives me an extra point.
So I think that is very similar to Welcome to, how you have to kind of plan ahead, but not plan too far ahead.
Yeah, and it gets almost impossible at some point. So what you are doing at the end of the game, and why you want to be careful about where you're placing these numbers, is when all 50 states are full. Actually, I would say all 48 states, because Hawaii and Alaska are not part of it. So when all 48 states are full, you have to try to draw a continuous line that only goes through a state one time, starting with your lowest number, going up to your highest number. You are going to end, there's no way to go through all the numbers you've written. There's just no way. And especially towards the end of the game, you're going to be going, oh, well, I'm going to have to put this number here because it's not legal to be put anywhere, and it's going to completely block my way. So then you get points for however many states you go through, and you get additional points for however many of those were circled.
Right.
And that's it. It's the theme of the game is that you're a band going on tour in the United States.
Hence on tour.
On tour.
Yeah, and you're driving in a crappy little VW like van.
Yeah, I think the components in this game are pretty awesome. So it comes with really, really nice dry erase like boards. And
you can get oversized ones, or at least you could, I think.
They're all pretty big.
Yeah.
And you can get extra ones.
Actually, they may have just made those oversized ones.
Yeah,
standard.
they're pretty darn big.
I think it was a stretch goal on the Kickstarter, but it may just be everybody gets it.
So you get that, you get the cards, you get these big dice. And what's really cool about the boards is that each of them have a different theme on them. So like one of them is a country band, and one of them's a rock band, one of them's a jazz band. And the back of them have different like spot UV type graphics on them that go with that theme. So like the jazz one had like saxophones and trumpets, and I had the rock one. I don't remember what was on the back of it, but they're all different based on whatever theme your band is supposed to be. And down in the corner, you're supposed to like come up with a band name, which is just,
the best part.
It's really fun to come up with a band name. I had the rock band one, and I named my band Free Beer because I figure if Free Beer is up on the marquee, everybody's going to want to come and see. So it was really fun. And it was a very thinky roll and write, but I enjoyed it.
Well, John D, speaking of games that I enjoyed, isn't that a great transition?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of different games in this. Yeah, this is wrong. Don't worry about that. There's a couple of different games in this, I guess, family. The first came Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which was a like geometric tile placement game.
You played the Palace of Mad King Ludwig.
Then came Palace. There's also Between Two Castles, which...
these are all by Bezier Games.
Well, yes. Well, Between Two Castles is co-published by Stonemaier. But yeah, Bezier. Palace of Mad King Ludwig is the one that I had not played, just because I'd never gotten around to it. I super liked it a lot. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on in this game. But essentially what it boils down to is on your turn, you place a room into the castle. And if it completes another room, which is to say closes all of the exits of that room, you get a bonus. So the idea here is that you're cooperatively building this castle. But if the tile that you play is the final tile on that room, you get extra points. There are moat tiles that go, and when they come from the left side of the board and the right side of the board, complete the moat, it triggers the end game. It's a top-down view of the castle. You've got all kinds of different rooms. There's tons of rooms. I don't know exactly how many tiles there are. It's great. The score on BGG does not, I think, fully represent how good this game is. It's got a 6.9 as of right now. 2 to 4 players. I think it works super well with 2 players. It is kind of heavy. It is kind of a heavier game. There's quite a lot going on. But I think it's well worth slogging through the not super well explained rule book. This is a game that I will buy and make you play. It came out in 2017. I don't know how I missed it. I knew that it was out there. I was just like, Castles of Mad King Ludwig's, it's all right. It's okay. It's fun. So they made a new one. So what? But because, again, being at Geekway, where they have these play and win games, I was like, okay, let's try it. My goal was to only play games that I had not played before from the play and win. And if I won a game, took one home, cool. This was one of the games I was like, yeah, I would not mind having that.
Okay.
Would not mind that at all. Got a lot of components. There's swans, which are the currency. Everybody has a specific type of icon. So mine was like feathers. So there's a bunch of those, and when you build a room, you place the feather on there. If you complete the room, you flip it over so that it's got a colored side and a white side. And if you build at least X amount of each type of room, you get bonus points. If you've got the highest amount of blue swans, let's say, you may get a bonus point for that. If you got the least amount of blue swans, you may have a bonus point for that. So there's a lot of ways to score, and each game is going to be different because there's 4 favor tokens, I think is what they're called, and those are the points that you want to try to attain that turn or that game. But you can also buy them and have different advantages or disadvantages depending on what the board looks like at the time. And it's a lot, Johnny. There's a lot going on in this game.
Okay.
It's a midweight for sure.
I'm okay with midweight games. I don't tend to like heavyweight games, but
It's teetering on heavy. Palace of Mad King Ludwig. And I guess the last game that I played, well, not the last game that I played, but the last one that we're going to talk about, is a Days of Wonder game. So Asmodee continues to publish games. This one came out in 2018. Again, missed this one. It's called The River. It's a worker placement and tile placement hybrid.
okay.
So you are a pioneer settling on the banks of this river. And your player board, the river snakes around, so you have to snake the tiles around as well. You've got a community board because it's a worker placement. So maybe on your turn, you want to get a tile from the center of the board, so you put your worker there. Or maybe you want to get some resources, so you put your worker there. Or maybe you want to build one of the end-game scoring towns, which is what you use the resources for, so you put your worker there. Maybe you want to get the first player marker, so you put your worker there. I mean, it's a pretty standard worker placement game, but it works really well with 2 players.
Which is nice.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a copy of this. The unique mechanic here is when you get resources, you can only get up to the number of resource icons you have built on your town. So if you want to specifically get wood, you have to have wood icons. And you've built these barns on your board because that's where you have to store the wood. So you can't just say, like, I'm going to get resources. You have to specifically say, okay, I have 6 brick resource icons on my map, and I have 4 warehouses. So maybe you've just done a really bad job, or it's the beginning of the game. I don't know. So you collect those resources. Well, you can't store them all. You have to make a decision like, okay, I have to dump some of the resources.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And there's also turkey meeples.
Ah,
And,
nice.
yeah, those are
I love
wild.
meeples. I love fun meeples.
Yeah. Those are the wild tokens. So maybe, okay, well, I can't get anything specifically, so I'm just going to get this turkey, and I can use it as a wild. As the game progresses, as you build your settlement, you lose workers
Oh.
because they leave to live there. They're like, you continue on down the river. I'm going to stay here in this town that we just built. So in the 5th space on your board, the 8th space on your board, and then the 11th and 12th space on your board, you lose a worker.
Bummer.
But if you build the second card, you get a worker.
Which I can see that being very helpful.
Yeah, so towards the end of the game, you're out of workers. You're not going to have any workers. But that's okay, because once someone has built the 12th settlement, the game ends anyway. The game also ends if you build all of the building cards
Okay.
that are on the side of the board. In a 2-player game, it's a different number than it is for a 3 and 4-player game. So it has the board, the main board, and your worker boards are both double-sided. So works well with 2 players or 3 or 4 players.
All right.
Ended up buying that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd try it.
Yeah. We also either bought some games or saw some games that we were interested in that we just didn't get around to.
Yes.
And Geekway does a really cool thing. They have a game design contest. And if you win the game design contest, every attendee of Geekway in a future year will get a copy of your game.
Well, that's because you're ignoring the coolest part for designers.
Yeah.
if you win the contest, you are guaranteed that Indie Boards and Cards will publish your game.
Yeah, so this year, everyone got Among Thieves, designed by Floyd Pretz, which was the 2017 design contest winner. So it's set in the dystopian universe, which is the Resistance universe. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but
I did not bring home a copy, but
we will play it, and we'll talk about it in one of the upcoming episodes.
I like the art in it a lot too.
Yeah.
The art it's different and it's really cool.
Let me just put that there. Also, if you follow us on Twitter or you follow Bezier Games on Twitter, you may already know this. They had a really cool scavenger hunt type contest to win a copy of one of their new games, Cabo. Got one of those. So I looked at their post on Twitter, and it said something along the lines of like giving myself the royal treatment or something like that. And that was the hint for where they had hidden one of these oversized cards. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, what Bezier game are they talking about? Well, Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So I went to the Geekway library, opened the game, and there was a cool little token in there. Took that to the Bezier booth. They gave me a copy of Cabo.
Very cool.
Which we have not played.
They did tweet a picture of and tagged Eat Chit and Dice. We were really excited about that. And we reshared that post on our Instagram.
Yep. I watched a cursory playthrough of the game, and it seems pretty cool, but haven't played it enough to go into depth. Well, I haven't played it at all, but I watched someone else play it.
We also we're looking at End of the Trail, which
from Elf Creek.
Yes, it looks like just by glancing anyway, it looks like it's some sort of another tile placement, maybe worker placement style game.
Yeah, so I have played this. I played it at, I want to say, it was at Gen Con last year. They did no, it was at Origins. It was at Origins because I had to get escorted through the bouncer because he said that I wasn't on the list. The list that he had, which was just Dice Tower people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a prospecting game. So it takes place in the Wild West during the Gold Rush, and it's a poker, press your luck, auction, hand management. There's a lot going on. There's memory because you can peek at the tiles and know like, okay, I'm prospecting. I see what's there. Or do I want to go there? Do I want to place a settlement there? I think you would love this game, John D.
I'm excited to play it.
We will play it. You and I will play it. I've played it.
We'll have like a Western, Wild West-ish episode at some point.
Yes, and at some point, we'll have some more information about this game. Yeah. So stay tuned.
So let's talk art though on this game real quick.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, sleeves for boxes are super lame and pointless, and I usually take them off the box and promptly throw them away.
Yeah.
However, they did one for this game that is kind of cool. It's still useless. It's still dumb to have a box sleeve. The only purpose I can see them serving really is keeping the game, like the pieces of the box together if you're traveling or whatever.
Yeah.
But they did a real cool thing with the sleeve for this game. It looks like a wagon, like a covered wagon, and you have to assemble it when you get it, but you actually put wagon wheels on the sleeve and they actually turn.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of cool.
It's pretty cool. Again, it's still just a sleeve, but it's one that I won't throw away for a change. Mm-hmm. And there's real cool meeples if you have the exclusive. I don't think it was it wasn't exclusive. But it's like the Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's the
edition,
like, deluxe version.
The deluxe version or whatever. So if you have the deluxe version, it has real cool meeples with it.
Yeah, there's like tent meeples.
Yeah. They're really cool. There's like tent meeples and like little Western dudes and they're not like just shaped. They actually have screen printing on them, so they're pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. And then John D found if you're a longtime listener to this podcast, you know that I love games that have really wacky themes.
Yeah, and wacky being there's not a huge genre for these themes, or at least there weren't when Jared first gets turned on to the themes. Like, I think the emergency worker, like police and ambulance people or paramedics or whatever, wasn't as big of a theme when you first got turned on to it, and now it's gotten pretty big.
Yeah.
So I found a game from R&R Games called Homestretch. It is about horse racing. And I immediately thought, Jared will like this. This is a pretty different theme. So I have a copy of it, and I am really looking forward to playing it, and then we'll come back and discuss it later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll absolutely play this game. Now, when I play it, I may be like, not exactly what I was expecting.
Maybe. Or maybe you'll go,
maybe
this
I'll go,
is
wow.
real cool.
Yeah. So look forward to that too, I guess, huh? Okay. Well, this is, not gone on quite as long as I expected it to, since this timer is wrong. So let's talk about some food. St. Louis has some interesting food options.
It does. And, we're supposed to talk about food sometimes in the podcast, so perfect opportunity to do that. I really like when I'm traveling, and I travel a lot, I like to eat at places that I can't eat at home.
Yes.
Which means I generally look for either regional chains or locally owned restaurants. And I feel like I find a lot of really gems. Like, sometimes I might find a dud, but for the most part, I get to eat some really great food that I wouldn't have eaten otherwise.
Yeah.
And St. Louis is full of these. So one that we went to together is called Salt and Smoke. And it's down in the St. Charles Historic District, which is a really cool area anyway. It's got, like, this really cool, like, brick street. I mean, I didn't like driving on it.
Yeah.
But walking along there and, like, seeing everything it's a very historic area. It's down on the Missouri River.
Mm-hmm. So here's what my recommendation would be. There's also one on Del Mar in the Loop where the streets aren't going to give you whiplash. If
you're at Geekway, Del Mar's really far to drive, when the historic district is 5 minutes. And I really enjoyed the experience of going down there.
The experience of driving on that road?
Well, you don't have to drive on the road. There's all kinds of side roads you can park on.
Yeah, there's also the trolley.
Yeah.
I guess you could have taken the trolley, but
overall, I ate at two places down in the historic district.
Yeah.
But the one that we ate together was called Salt and Smoke, and it's a barbecue restaurant. And it was really good.
Yes.
Like, everything I had was perfect.
I had pulled chicken.
What'd you have what sides did you have?
Coleslaw, and I don't remember. What did I have?
I don't remember.
Oh, I had the fries that were fried in beef tallow.
Right. And you said they were real good.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking them as I was like, did I have a bowl on some, like, because the coleslaw came in a bowl, the macaroni came in a bowl.
Oh, let's talk about that macaroni. So it was macaroni and cheese, white cheese with crackers.
Why's it got to be white cheese and crackers?
Oh my God. Anyway, it was so good. Like, it was still macaroni and cheese, which I generally like. It's
hard to mess up
anyway.
Mac and cheese.
But then it has like this extra texture in it from the crackers, and it's just really flavorful. It was really good. If you have texture issues, you might not like it, but it was fantastic, and I loved it. I also they had a can't remember what was in it. There was a chili that I had, and it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but it was very, very good. And I had the burnt ends and pulled pork, and they were both perfect. The burnt ends, it's hard. Like, you don't always find places that do burnt ends right, and this was completely right. It was so good. So that's a place I definitely want to eat at again next year.
Okay. Well, it's not a St. Louis tradition, but if I'm in St. Louis and I want some pizza, now I know this is a super sensitive subject, but let me just stop you there, because this isn't St. Louis style pizza.
No, which is gross.
Pie, and there's 3 or 4 of them. There used to be one closer to St. Charles, but it's in Kirkland, but it's gone.
And pie spelled like the math
P-I.
equation.
So you will have to go down to Del Mar because it is the closest one. But
It's worth the drive.
It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
They have a thicker crust. It's not like Chicago-style thick crust. It's not lasagna thick crust.
I like that John D said we only went to one restaurant together.
Oh, that's true. We did go to another one. They have this thicker cornmeal crust.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh,
and
it's so good.
I at first I was like, okay, this is going to be super weird. It is so good.
So good.
It's excellent. We brought a friend of ours with us that's from New York, and he's always telling me that there's no such thing as pizza outside of the Northeast of the United States. And so I really wanted him to go to Pie. And he said that it only resembled pizza in look, but he did really like it.
Yeah.
He just said that he wouldn't call it pizza because he's a stuck-up New York pizza snob. But he did really enjoy it. And yeah, I didn't get to go there last year, but I went there the year before when Jared introduced me to it. And I specifically had said I wanted to go there this year, and it's worth the drive.
Yeah.
I loved
so
it.
good. It's so good. Well, if you're already down in the loop, there's also, let me move this here, a taco restaurant that is Korean fusion.
Yeah, it's called Seoul Taco.
Seoul Taco, spelled like
the city.
Seoul, Korea.
It was okay. Like, we went there, was it last year or the year before that we went there?
I think you went there last year.
It's okay. I don't think it's worth the extra drive. If I'm going to be in the loop anyway, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it was worth it. If you ever watch the Great Food Truck Race, the people that run Seoul Taco won the Great Food Truck Race one year, and after a while they couldn't. Their business was growing so much that they couldn't do it out of a food truck anymore. So it's a restaurant now instead of a food truck.
And there's a food truck exterior
Yeah.
glued to the wall.
Yeah, it's real cool. But, I mean, it was okay. I didn't think that it was bad by any means. I just don't think it was worth the drive.
Well, I got a kimchi burrito. A bulgogi beef kimchi burrito. Yum, 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 yum. So good, John D. Don't know why you hate it. But you don't really like spicy food that much.
I didn't say I hate it. I actually ate Korean food yesterday.
What? What?
Yep, I ate bulgogi and kimchi yesterday.
What?
So
Why didn't you tell me?
Because I was eating with family.
John D, you saying I'm not family? I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
I'm not, but...
Right. Like, you're one of my best friends, but no, you are not family. Thank God I'm not related to you.
I'll remember this next time I go to get Korean food.
You do that.
All right, well, I didn't eat at this other place that you went.
Well, you went to Fuzzy's, which
Yeah.
Anytime there's a Fuzzy's in the town that you're at, you always want to go to Fuzzy's.
I mean, it's
a chain restaurant, but
Yeah.
it's good. Like, if you want a chain restaurant Mexican food, I mean, it's like 100 times better than Taco Bell.
I would say 1,000 times better than Taco Bell.
Yeah, you don't need to eat it while sitting on the toilet.
Right.
So, yeah, I didn't go there this year, but I do like it. I'll if I go to Origins, I'll go there.
Yeah,
while I'm in.
because it's across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this other place I went to in the historic district was called Braden's, and it's just American fare type food. I had a BLT with avocado that was delicious, and I had with it a cup of lobster bisque that was also very good, and I had like a gooey butter cake for dessert. And if you have never had St. Louis gooey butter cake, get in your car right now, drive to St. Louis, and have some, because it's so good. It's way sweet, and you don't want more than one piece, but it's really good. So, yeah, that's just some of the fare in St. Louis that we enjoyed.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to? Should we talk about Kickstarters now?
Well, sure. Why
Got a couple Kickstarters. Not, nothing fancy this time. It's more of a PSA.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not backing anything because my budget's blown, and there's nothing that that's really telling me I have to back this game. With that said, though, there's a Space Invaders board game.
Yeah.
I loved that game when I was a kid. So I at least, was like, ooh, I have my eye on this.
Yep. I'm backing this. I got the last early bird deluxe edition. Snagged that at $20 less than than the regular price. This one's interesting. It is very much the arcade game, but on a board.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be fun, but more like fun for nostalgia reasons.
Yeah, which
Like,
is why I'm
kinda
glad I
like-
got that. I would not have backed this for $75.
Which is why I'm not backing it, because usually if I back a Kickstarter, I want the deluxe version,
Right.
and I don't think that this is worth $75.
No.
But I do think it'll be, for nostalgia reasons, it'll probably be a fun enough game to play once or twice, kind of like Fireball Island.
Yeah.
Fireball Island, in my opinion, isn't the greatest game in the world, but it's got great table presence and it's fun once or twice
Yeah.
for nostalgia.
So Space Invaders, the board game, the way it works is you shuffle all the cards, and the cards have powers. But on the back of the cards, it's, the Space Invaders. So you shuffle them all. You've got your little laser guys that you can shoot at them to get the cards. And then stuff moves around. They move down as they would in the arcade game. John D's right. I can't say backing this for $75 is worth it, but they have a non-deluxe version for $30, which I think is more reasonable for what you're getting. The early bird $55 deluxe I think is worth paying for the deluxeified, but yeah, $45 more for the updated or upgraded deluxe version. No.
Pass.
No, they also have a $1,000 pledge where you get
A diorama.
no.
Yeah, pass. But that's enough about that one. There's one to be excited about from Indie Boards and Cards.
Yeah. This is the fourth game in this universe.
Yep.
Kodama. This one is 3D. So you're building, instead of cards, you've got little pieces of tree that you slot together to build a tree. So there's tree trunks for up to 4 players. Right now, there's 64 branch. They're not tiles. They're calling them tiles, but they're not tiles. They're tree branch parts. And then there's the goal cards. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
You can get the pledge levels. You can get the previous games if you've missed them, along with some promos. This is going to be a really cute game. It's going to have some interesting table presence.
And this one is worth backing.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's not like there's just one level for the game. They don't have like some crazy deluxe version. The upper levels, like the more expensive levels, let you choose games that are in the universe that were printed previously. So, if you only want to be in for the one game, you have that option. And there's not like a $20 more for a deluxe version. It's just this game.
Right.
And it's worth backing, definitely.
Well, and I do like, okay, so let's just talk about this real quick. Okay, so for $24, you get the new game. For $39, you get this game plus your choice of one of the previous games, either Kodama the Tree Spirits, Kodama Duo, which is the 2-player version, Kokoro, which was not originally part of it, but they changed the art a little bit, and so it fits in. For $52, you get the new game and 2 of those. And for $65, again, not a sponsor, but this is an amazing deal.
It's a really good deal.
4 games.
You won't be able to get all those games if you go directly to them at a convention, or if you go to Amazon, you're not going to get them for that price. You probably may not even get them for that much if you went to like Miniature Market.
No, I don't think you would. So having said that, both of these will be linked in the episode notes on our website. So check that out or search for it on your own. I don't care if you click our link, but definitely look at them.
Yep, for sure.
And then I have one other interesting bit of news that I'm not sure how I feel about. There is going to be a Dungeons & Dragons Rick and Morty version.
That's real dumb.
So it's called Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty, because they recently did a comic book from IDW that was called that. But this one is called Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty, tabletop role-playing game adventure.
Ugh.
It's for up to 5 players, and it's going to run you through 5th edition from level 1 to level 3. I think they're doing this as a way to say, hey, you are a Rick and Morty fan. You read that comic that we did. how about trying to play Dungeons and Dragons? This will get you to level 3, and then after that, whatever, buy a different product. John D is not a fan of Rick and Morty fans, which I think is a fair stance to take.
Correct.
I'm interested in playing this. I want to check it out.
I happen to know Jeremy would probably be willing to play it with you. He loves
Yeah.
Rick and Morty. I do not.
I like Rick and Morty. I don't.
Rick grosses me out.
Yes, that's fair. I don't necessarily want to associate with the majority of the fandom, but I would play this. I would absolutely check this out when it comes out sometime.
Do you know the
2019.
main reason I would not play it with you and Jeremy?
Because you don't like Dungeons and Dragons.
No, that's not even the main reason. Because you
we'd
and
be
Jeremy
super annoying
yeah.
doing the voices.
Yeah.
Like when we play Castle Panic.
Yes.
When we play Brick and Mortar.
Yes. Oh my God, that's the main reason why I would not play it.
All right, well that's fair. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird idea. I don't know exactly what the box is going to be like. Is it a starter set? Does it come with dice that you would need? Does it come with D&D sized Rick and Morty pawns?
I would
what are we
hope
looking at here?
that they take advantage of that theme and just go all in with it.
I would be very interested in buying this. If nothing else, than to have some interesting rules
Right.
to port over to 5th edition. Like, there's going to be dimensional travel in this.
Okay.
So being able to say, like, okay, yeah, there's rules for dimensional travel in D&D now.
Okay. Fair.
Like, oh yeah, there's rules in D&D for laser guns now. There's rules for whatever. If nothing else, to have that, I will buy this depending on the price. If it's $20 and you get some cool dice and some unique rules, sure. If it's $50,
You'll put more thought into
yeah,
it.
I'll think about it more.
It won't be an insta-buy at that
Right,
point.
right.
Well, I think that's everything we have
Yeah.
to talk about. So until next time.
Until next time, John D, you
can eat chit and dice.
bye-bye. Eat Chit and Dice is an independent production of Swin Media and is distributed under a Creative Commons license. Attribution, non-commercial, share alike 4.0 international.